Hey, yo, Josh, let me get a little bit of reverb. Yeah. J. Will. Yeah, I'm about that lifestyle. I talk green work, repping it all over. It's right on the t-shirt. Fan for a lifetime. Yeah, that's a long pass. Figure I would show some love right on the podcast. Turn this up loud and make sure you don't do nothing else. Cause if you're listening to us, then you're improving your health. My name is Jay Will. Welcome to the show, yeah. Wrestle, flow, 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 yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another edition of Wrestling Reverb. It is the pre-WrestleMania week on Wrestling Reverb. Yeah, I am Josh. Kevin is here. What's cracking in Kevin's land today?
Case of the Mondays. Nothing really going on today, but can't complain, you know. Living the life. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing okay. It is a Tuesday here, so I've already passed my Case of the Mondays, and I'm just, waking up. I've been up for ages. Usually it's like recording time is like 8:30 for me in the morning on Tuesday. I woke up at like 5:30 this morning, and I could not go back to sleep. So I've been up for hours, just laying in bed, being like, please go back to sleep. So I just listened to Renee Young's podcast while I laid in bed and just did that with my time. And then ate some food. So I'm sure I'll be grumpy and tired later because I got like 5 hours sleep. But oh well, not the worst.
Yeah, I noticed how active you are on Twitter, and I've gotten to the point where I figured out what time it is in Australia based on my time. So I saw you being real active on Twitter over the last couple of hours, and I'm like, oh geez, he must not have gotten a lot of sleep.
Nope. You hit the nail right on the head. I didn't. But, I don't have work today, so after Raw, I'll probably just have a nap on the couch and be fine.
There you go.
So, it'll be fine. I'm not really that fussed. Sleep is for the weak, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some news. I mean, waking up early was nice because I woke up just after the announcement. It's official, Kevin, what we kind of assumed, but it is official. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair will main event WrestleMania. I know like I said, we kind of have been expecting it, but what is your kind of initial reaction to just officially seeing that?
Yeah, I know we've been sort of expecting it. It's been sort of penciled in the minds of the fans for a couple of months now, but to see it, to hear it from the WWE itself is such an incredible moment. I'm genuinely was overwhelmed by the news. I was so excited, so happy for Becky, for Ronda, and for Charlotte. They really deserve it. They've been kicking ass for months now, and this is their time. And I know they're not gonna disappoint with this main event slot.
Oh no, not at all. It's pretty weird. Like I don't think anyone. Well, we have, but we almost haven't in a sense of just. People like to always talk about, past and, past eras because, this was a better time than this was a better time than this. But, no one really talks about the now too much. Like, sometimes we don't really live in the present. We live in the past or we live in the future too much. And I think it's like, I, genuinely read that and was like, okay, I'm going to take a minute just to remember where I am and what I'm kind of doing because we'll look back on this in 2 years and we'll be like, where were you when it was announced that, the women are main eventing WrestleMania for the first ever time? And it is pretty cool. We're literally in a generation of fans of history, and I don't think everyone's kind of. I know people are like, this is pretty cool, but I just really haven't. I don't know, it doesn't feel real almost, but seeing that this morning, I was like, wow, this is pretty damn special. Like, I just want to remember what I'm kind of doing, where I'm at, when this is all going down. I mean, I'm sure I'll be more sentimental and kind of emotional about it when it's actually happening at WrestleMania, but there's the end of the day, I know I'm very big on saying, like, I want to get past all these first evers and I want to get to the norm of just whatever's the best kind of match to go on last. But there's only one first ever, and WrestleMania 35 is going to be that. It is pretty cool, and it's pretty special to be a part of this generation of fans that get to witness this, because in 10, 20, 30 years' time, you know, they're always going to look back on this, and who knows, maybe it's the start of this more frequently happening at WrestleMania or whatever, or just getting past the stigma of women and men and just going, that's the best story we've got going on right now. This has been the best build. Let's put it on last. So, I mean, it is pretty cool, and we're witnessing history unfold before our very eyes, and I just don't think even, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but sometimes I take it for granted when we really shouldn't.
No, you're right. It's easy to look at this as just another announcement, just another first, but this is so much bigger than any of the other first time women's moments that have come before. Not saying those weren't big. Obviously, the first ever, you know, women's Hell in a Cell match, first ever women's Money in the Bank, all of great importance, but this is on a whole different scale. This is WrestleMania we're talking about. This is a show that, like, as recently as, you know, 7 years ago or so, or 6 years ago, WrestleMania 29, the women got cut from the card. That was only 6 years ago. And now, in the year 2019, WrestleMania 35, we're going to see the women not only get a high-profile spot on the card, they're getting the high-profile spot on the card. They're getting the main event. And it's not just because they're women. It's because they're the best story going. That's an important point. This isn't just like a stunt. This isn't just, you know, WWE looking for good publicity. This is the genuinely best story being told right now in WWE. It's been that way for 6 months or so, since SummerSlam, since Becky turned on Charlotte, and it really deserves the spot it's going to get. And I'm excited. We're witnessing history, and like you said, sometimes it's tough to grasp that. But we're gonna all remember where we were when this match took place and when this WrestleMania took place, because it's gonna go down in history no matter what.
Yeah. What a full circle moment being, you know, you talk about the women getting cut from WrestleMania 29. That was at MetLife Stadium, and now we're at MetLife Stadium, and there's potentially going to be 4 women's matches at WrestleMania this year, and WrestleMania 29 didn't even have one. So it's a pretty cool, just a weird kind of thing to think about, but it is really, really special, and couldn't be more excited for it, to be honest with you. Wow, I was talking in the pre-chat to you just briefly about how I don't really feel like it's WrestleMania time, but I just had a weird, like, epiphany almost. Saying that makes me feel excited for WrestleMania. I haven't had that feeling yet, almost. Like, it's been a different kind of excitement. It's always been just like, yeah, it's WrestleMania. That's coming up soon. But just saying that is like, wow. I mean, I can just visualize me sitting at my, in my living room with my usual, squad that kind of watch wrestling with me and just being like, this is pretty cool. That will make me feel like watching Evolution, if you get what I mean. Like, I remember watching Evolution and being like, oh, wow, this is pretty damn special to watch this, and now it's going to make, like, that feeling. Do you think that is there anything bigger for the ladies than main eventing WrestleMania? Is this the pinnacle? Is this what the peak is for them? Or is there, I don't know if there is anything bigger. I'm not sure what it is.
I don't think there's anything bigger. This is the pinnacle of the profession. This is the pinnacle of pro wrestling, main eventing WrestleMania. It's what superstars dream of. Superstars work tirelessly, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, year after year. This is what it all amounts to. And this is what we're going to see. Instead of, the norm, we're going to see Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda main event. We're going to see women main event. This is the pinnacle of the sport. This is what they work. This is what they've worked so hard for. And I don't think I think after this is tops. This is as high on the ladder as it gets.
Yeah, I agree with you, to be honest with you. Now it's just the next step is, like I've said before, I just want this to become more of the norm, less about women and men matches. It's just wrestling, and yeah, that's what I want from the next kind of step. Who knows where we'll be in 5-10 years from now? You never know. Once WWE do something once, they genuinely do it again. And I just want stories to be... I just want the whole wrestling kind of industry, or WWE, just to take what they've done. I understand the story with Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda has gotten a little bit complex in the last maybe month. But even just taking the whole story of applying that to across the board, we can't just rely on one story or two stories. We need to have depth within the entire company. So just more of this with everything. But nonetheless, it's cool. Another thing that I wanted to bring up with you, because I know that it's a very opinionated, divided kind of opinion with things, is Nikki Bella officially announced her in-ring retirement. I believe it was on Total Bellas, but the news come out yesterday. Nikki Bella no longer will be competing in a ring. She's decided to retire, I guess neck issues, and just her career's come kind of full circle. She's had all her accomplishments, and, with Brie retiring. I know a lot of people are very, very divided on this, because the Bellas get a lot of hate, and I have said many times I am a fan, and they did a lot for the division that no one else really had, especially at that time. They are mainstream stars. They bring in different sets of eyes, and honestly, they hone their craft, and they had a lot of passion for wrestling. And, say what you will about their earlier work, but since they, had that return in 2013 or 14, whenever it was, since they had that return, and they took time to get better and improve, and both of them did. People are there's always going to be an asterisk next to their name, because people just really don't like those two ladies, but I was always a defender of them, and I always understood their appeal and what they brought in the ring and just to wrestling. In your opinion, over the last 12 years, it's been 12 years since the Bellas debuted, which side do you kind of lean on? Are you more on the people that are just I don't like the Bellas, I don't see what they bring? Or are you more on leaning towards mine and some other opinions of you understood what they brought to the wrestling business and understood that they got a lot better in the ring?
The Bella Twins, you can't overstate their importance. They really were the bridge between the Divas era and the women's era. There would be no women's revolution if it weren't for the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins really worked their tails off to get better in the ring, like you said. They were both fine wrestlers. And I hate Nikki especially. I hate to single her out, because the Bellas are a unit. You never like to single one out,
Yeah.
But they really changed the game. They really did. I was never a huge Bellas fan until maybe the end.
Yep.
I really love what Nikki did on SmackDown after the brand split. I thought her work with Carmella and her work with Natalya was really good. And I liked her match with Ronda at Evolution. Wasn't my favorite match on the card, but it was good. It was a worthy main event. Nikki did the honors for Ronda, which is that was a really good way for her to go out, and that was really strong for Ronda, because Nikki had been a stalwart of the division for so long. That was a bigger win for Ronda than people realize.
Yeah.
So I think that this is an important day to mark, because the Bellas, AJ Lee and Paige were really sort of the ones who bridged that gap from divas to women. From the 3-minute throwaway matches to women getting that mainstream respect, it started with the Bellas, and It's a shame to see them go. I wish them well. I don't think they're going to have much to worry about post-wrestling. I think they're pretty well set, but it's going to be sad to see them go.
Yeah, here's just a kind of brief kind of question on both of those ladies. Do you ever think they'll truly get the recognition that they've earned?
From the fans, probably not. I don't think you're going to have any... I think there's a huge divide, like you said, a big split on the Bellas, and I don't see either side really gaining numbers. I think everyone's pretty set in their positions on the Bellas, and now that they've retired, there's no more work for the Bellas to do to really gain fans or gain supporters in wrestling terms. So I think there's always going to be a divide. They'll go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
In that regard, from the WWE perspective, they're Hall of Famers, no doubt. And
yeah, well,
they'll get that recognition.
That was my kind of next question: is Hall of Fame is in their future? Yeah. I could not see why they wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. They have done a lot for the wrestling business, and they were like my original kind of, I guess how I got a lot of flack from my earlier episodes of Wrestling Reverb is that I was a Bella fan, and people were not happy with that because I used to get tweets all the time being like, you're defending Brie and you're defending Nikki. It's like, yeah, because I understand what they bring to the business. I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't know why people should be afraid to admit who they like. That's a thing that I will never understand on wrestling Twitter, is that people are afraid to admit, or they like, I low-key like this person. It's like who you like, that's what wrestling's about. I'm not afraid to admit who I like at all. So the Bellas are just another one that I'll always stand by and always defend and always say that they brought a lot to the industry which not a lot of men or women can bring, and that's outside attention. And that's what WWE thrives on, is mainstream attention. And like it or not, Nikki and Brie are known to a different audience that isn't wrestling, and it's the E audience. And Nikki got a lot of recognition from being with John Cena, and I'm not saying that she's relying on that at all, but people certainly know who Nikki Bella is because of that. So, I mean, they just brought in a different attention, and I'll always understand that. That's what this business is built around. So, yeah. I mean, moving on from that, there is two big... we're recording a couple hours before Raw, so you'll probably hear this after Raw, but going into Raw, there's quite a big match between Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, and then on SmackDown tomorrow, we're going to have AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. So, I mean, as fans of the wrestling business as we are, as big as fans we are, people who have not seen their work in TNA are crazy, because it's going to be some big... I mean, I know we're building... To be honest, I don't think Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle is going to happen at WrestleMania. I think it's a little bit of a swerve, but in the mind of we're getting that, I mean, these are two big matches to have on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, it's like you're giving away the good stuff for free, and you're making us pay $9.99 to watch Kurt Angle wrestle Baron Corbin. I'm with you. I don't think that's actually going to be the match. I think they planned on it being the match. I think that the fans shut it down, basically. And you don't want to have a negative reaction on Kurt Angle's last match. That was silly. That was a silly thought they had, they'd be able to run that match and the fans wouldn't crap all over it. There was no shot. I can't let them get away with that. I don't think that's going to be the match. But yeah, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. Honestly, if you haven't seen their work in TNA, go back and go into the libraries and go onto YouTube and watch it. It's spectacular, and obviously this is like 10 years later from all of that, but I still expect we're going to see pretty good matches out of these two shows.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've talked about Kurt before. I know you've had your opinions on Kurt wrestling, but hey, if you're gonna have your last match on SmackDown be against AJ Styles, and then your last match on, one of your last matches on Raw being with Samoa Joe, really isn't a bad thing at all.
No, it really isn't. I'm not the biggest fan of Kurt Angle's wrestling in the year 2019, but it's his farewell tour. So I'm willing to look the other way, and especially because we're getting these dream matchups. Like they know he's going out, so they want to give us as much as we could get out of Kurt Angle. And obviously, guys like Styles and Joe could have good matches with just about anybody, and they have chemistry with Angle. We've seen it in the past. So yeah, I'm willing to turn the other cheek and let Kurt Angle wrestle a couple more matches, and I will not say a word against them. I'll be pretty happy with them.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be fine wrestling matches. Now, we do have a little bit of this week is kind of our I guess pre-week to what's going on next week. If you haven't checked out my Twitter or Kevin's Twitter, you haven't seen the schedule that we've got lined up for next week. So, for those of you who don't know what's happening next week, of course it's WrestleMania week, and we have a very busy week planned. First, before I get to the schedule, Kevin, I would like to give you the spotlight on your blogs, because you've also got a big week of those coming up. Do you want to run down what's going on next week in your blogging world?
Yeah, so I'm officially relaunching The Last Blogger Standing. It's been sort of on hiatus. It's been sort of dormant for about a month or two, but I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to write again and just to be, churning out new content every day. So I've got a big week planned starting on Monday. And even before we get there, starting today, I already released an old article, and I'll be releasing an old article every day through this upcoming Sunday before WrestleMania week starts in earnest. And then we got a lot of different things going on. I'm not going to go through everything because there's so many things, but we're going to have, NXT TakeOver predictions, WrestleMania predictions, some blogs about WrestleMania, my favorite stuff, some stuff about my favorite WrestleMania moments, my least favorite WrestleMania moments. Going to blog about The Undertaker, Kofi, probably the women's main event, and I'll be doing my 10 questions segment, which was a big hit for a while. I used to get a lot of attention on those. Just basically 10 questions. You ask somebody, about wrestling. I've revamped it for WrestleMania. It's 10 questions WrestleMania edition, and we'll be running one every week every week next week into leading up to the big show. Yeah,
it's really hard to put into words how big this week is in pro wrestling. But we have a big week lined up as well on Wrestling Reverb. We've got 5 huge shows to talk all about WrestleMania with. So now time zones are weird. So for the most part, these will be released like very close to. I'm going to try and get them Monday across the board with, it'll be really early Monday morning for you guys or whatever day. So I'm trying to release them so the schedule lines up with Australia, if you get what I mean. So Monday we're going to have a very special WrestleMania edition of Reverb Rewind. The polls are going on at the moment. Another poll will be released for the 2 winners of those polls, and then we'll talk WrestleMania next week on Reverb Rewind. That'll be fun, Kevin, because we love doing our Reverb Rewinds a lot. And, no matter what WrestleMania, it's still WrestleMania. So that'll be fun to go over and revisit an old WrestleMania to start off the week, to get us ready for WrestleMania. Then on Wednesday, so next week you're not going to hear us on Tuesday before Raw. You'll hear us before my time before SmackDown. It'll be a little bit after SmackDown for you, Kevin. But it's going to be we're going to talk the best WrestleManias, our favorite moments, our favorite matches. just all about WrestleMania. Whatever we want to bring up WrestleMania-wise, that is the episode to do it on. WrestleMania is always fun to talk about. It's always nice to get, we do agree on a lot of things, but our favorites never match, is what I like so much, is we have very different favorite matches and whatever, but it would be fun to talk WrestleMania with you, because not only is this my first WrestleMania with you on the podcast, it's my first WrestleMania podcasting, so I really haven't gone over WrestleMania too much, so this will be really fun to talk about. Then, of course, the Brainbuster debut, which will take place on Friday, which is, we're gonna have. We've been waiting for Brainbuster for so long now. It is nearly here. It's literally starting next week. We're gonna have WrestleMania predictions. There's gonna be a lot to cover in that episode, obviously, with the amount of matches that will be at WrestleMania. But just kind of quickly, Kev, I know we've talked about Brainbuster a lot. Of course, we're going to continue to talk about Brainbuster. Now that it's nearly here, it's getting pretty exciting.
I know. I feel like this is such a big step for us. It's such a big move. I'm excited. And yeah, we're like 7 days away now. We're a week away.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to officially be on the Brainbuster Radio lineup, so you could hear us every week. You could hear a bunch of other great podcasts every week. People like Omega Luke, Queen, JPQ, there are tons more. Wilfred, I can't even name them all, because there's so many great podcasts that are going to be coming your way on Brainbuster Radio, and we're so fortunate to be just a part of that.
Yeah, very cool group of people. So that is happening on Friday, and then after NXT TakeOver New York, we got a recap show to do there. That is going to be an incredible show. Everything there. We don't talk enough about NXT on this show, and I'm so glad that we're going to dedicate an entire episode to talking about TakeOver New York, because now I believe you started just after the last TakeOver. You started just after the Rumble, so we haven't talked about a takeover together, so this will be also another fun thing to kind of go over, because, yeah, of course, we brought up NXT a few different times, but we've never really, really in-depthly talked about NXT TakeOver, so that'll be really fun, because it's probably going to be an amazing show.
Oh my God, yeah. Like, when is TakeOver not an amazing show? That's the same line every time, because it's true. If it's not broke, you don't fix it. TakeOver's never been broken. It's always been picture perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I feel just another in a long line of greats.
Yeah, and then of course it's the end of our WrestleMania week shenanigans. Directly after WrestleMania, we will be doing a WrestleMania recap show. We're going to talk about all the best matches, the moments, our opinions on WrestleMania, and we're going to be delusional as all hell by then. So you're going to get crazy, Kevin and Josh, because it'll be late for Kevin, and I would have been up since early in the morning here. So that'll be an interesting show to do.
Be spouting off nonsense left and right. So make sure you tune into that one, people.
And then, of course, not to dive into the next week too much, but there's Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania, so we'll probably be talking about that at some stage. But that is WrestleMania week for us. It's going to be busy, but good busy, I think.
Oh, my God, yeah. There's no doubt. Busy is good. Yeah. I wanted to be as busy as possible for WrestleMania week, and between Reverb and my blogs, I think I've accomplished that. I'm going to be running on fumes, but I'm excited for it. It's a labor of love.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a fun week. Now, we do have a little bit of a show plan today. We're going to answer some questions from you guys that you put into our Twitters and whatever it may be. We're just going to take a brief second to hear a nice little promo spot for our friends, so we'll be back in just a minute or two.
So what happened after the Attitude Era?
That's right. I.O. WCW.
When the war was over and the dust settled, what really happened?
And come on, Kane, honestly, who can blame her? Look at you. Who could realistically love a burnt-up freak like you?
What do we make of this time period?
Wasn't my fault. Did I just hear myself say 3 minutes?
Only two guys will have the answers.
I want that golden thong. And I was like,
If I want to be a tattooed, fire-breathing dragon, then that's all right by you.
And it all culminates to this: the granddaddy of them all.
Ruthless aggression.
Make sure to tune into the Ruthless Aggression podcast, starring me, myself, Levi, and my good buddy Kyle. Find us on anchor.fm/ruthlesspod and anywhere you can find your podcast.
Alrighty, we are back and we have some questions from you guys, the people. We have some questions from the people. Wow, I didn't mean to sound as corny as I did then, but whatever. So I put out a little tweet about just asking any related question at all. It doesn't have to be wrestling. It doesn't have to be. It can be about anything. So I'll start with one. Now this is from our lovely friend Mags. We love Mags, fellow Brainbuster family member. Which WWF or E wrestler never got the recognition they deserved? Kevin, I'll let you kind of start with this one. Who's that for you?
And there's a lot there's a lot that come to mind. Geez, and it depends on the criteria, right? So, like, what is recognition to you? To me, I look at this question like this: recognition being championships. Who in my mind never got to hold, never was rewarded the way they should have been in their career. And for me, there's one person that list starts with. It's Roddy Piper. He's never held a world title in this company. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer and he's gotten his accolades. But a guy like that, for how good he was and how revolutionary he was in this business, to have not ever held a world title in WWE is like almost blasphemous to me. So that's on a bigger scale, I'd say Roddy Piper. On a smaller note, though, I'd say someone like I've been mulling this one over in my head a little bit. Michelle McCool just kind of randomly popped in there. She was good.
Yeah.
She was a good worker. But, like, you wouldn't know it from her yeah, she has the women's titles, but she's from that era where we don't look at any of the women who wrestled in the early to mid-2000s as really good wrestlers besides Trish and Lita. So she falls into that category of just, like, divas. And because of that, she'll probably never get the recognition she deserves, even if she gets inducted into the Hall of Fame someday. People will be split on that just like they're split on Tori Wilson right now. So I'd say McCool is another one that definitely deserved a bit more applause and recognition that she ultimately got.
Oh yeah, Michelle was she was actually a really good worker, but she was just, yeah, like you said, just in that era where it wasn't about good workers. For me, Piper is one that always kind of, as soon as I seen that question, he popped into my brain just because you're right, he didn't. Yes, okay, he went in the Hall of Fame and whatever, but he didn't get that. But to me, not getting recognition is not really about championships. It's people that had been in the business that were underappreciated, and we aren't talking about them now as much as we should be. And, hey, I know women are forefront of it now and everything like that, but the couple of ladies that come to mind when I think about that is Victoria. She never gets the recognition now that of how many barriers she broke and what she did for the business, and Molly Holly. They never get their props for what they did in the ring. Another one that comes to mind in that area is Jazz. Jazz never gets that props for what she's done in the ring. They're not talked about, and they're not in the video packages that WWE put on now for the women's evolution and who paved the way to get here. So there's kind of three that come to my mind about people that don't get the recognition they deserve.
Those are good ones. Molly Holly was another one that came to mind for me as well. I know you're a big Molly Holly fan, so I'm glad you covered that, because she's definitely a good name. Jazz, very good addition too. We could talk about how there wouldn't be a women's revolution without the Bellas, but there wouldn't be the Bellas if it weren't for someone like Molly Holly or Jazz. Wrestling history is linear. You couldn't have somebody without the people that came before.
Hey, another one that popped into my mind just right now, and I know we've brought her up before, but Sable. We don't talk about Sable anymore, and I understand she's not one that was, a wrestler, for, air quote, wrestler, but she got a lot of attention when women got none of it, and she was the biggest part of the show for the longest time, and Sable is in none of that now. Even for a lady like Stacy Keibler, she doesn't get the recognition of the attention she brought to the business. Not about wrestling. Sometimes getting recognition isn't just about in-ring wrestling work. It's recognizing that they brought in an audience, and they don't get that now. But that's just spiraling off. Another question that I have here is from another fellow, Brain Buster brother, and that's one Omega Luke, who I'm now convinced is my brother. We are somehow related in some way. We have the same middle name and we have the same last name. What is this conspiracy? What is this? It's like I find my family and I found my brother or cousin or something. It's confirmed. Breaking news here. Me and Omega Luke are in fact related. It's a
I didn't even catch that you guys had the same last name. That is wild.
How do we have the same last name and the same middle name? What is going on? But it is confirmed right here. We are family, and I'm not getting told otherwise. I'm ending the story on that one. But yeah, he has a question here. Of course, Omega Luke Wrestling Podcast. He's famous for his fantasy booking. He does it better than anybody else. And he's interested to find out if we had to create a stipulation for a fantasy booking on Omega Luke, what would we book? Kevin, what I know there's not a lot of time to think about this question, but if you had to think of some kind of a stipulation to book for Omega Luke for his fantasy booking, what could you come up with? What could the mastermind known as Kevin come up with?
I think what I would like to do is fantasy book John Cena's 17th world record breaking title reign.
Ooh.
I think there's so many ways that I don't know if we're going to see it now. It seems as though John Cena's phasing out of wrestling a little bit and more into the entertainment aspect of his career. But I've always been a believer that it should be his record since I've been watching it, since I've known John Cena, since I've gotten to know him through my TV screen. So I think there's a lot of intriguing ways you can get the belt on him, if only for a month or so, like they did for 16. He only held the belt for a couple of weeks, but they got to 16. I think he should get to 17, and I'd love to be able to book that.
That is really good, and it kind of shits all over mine. But, man, that would be really cool to tackle, honestly. Luke, if you're listening, you got to give props to Kevin on that one. For me, I thought about this question a lot, and it's come up, in my mind in the last few hours. Being awake early does have its benefits, because I got to think about this, and how would it be if we had to book 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen? How do we get there? How do we book it? How do we execute it? I think that would be really, really fun to tackle.
That's a good one. And that's, honestly, that might be more feasible at this point than Cena's 17th reign. Because I think we're going to get a horsewoman showdown at some point.
Yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere in the later part of the future. I think we are going to get it. But I mean, so many people talk about it, but nobody talks about how we would get there, because there's a lot of hurdles you'd have to go over to get there. There's a lot of things you have to do to get there, because, I mean, it's not like Becky and Charlotte are the best of friends right now. It's not like the MMA Four Horsewomen have had too many interactions on WWE TV apart from being in the crowd at takeovers and stuff like that. Sure, we all know that they're all, you know, the MMA Four Horsewomen. We've got our Four Horsewomen. But really, to a casual fan, that's just the title. We don't know why any of these ladies are together or not together or whatever. So, I mean, that'd be cool to tackle. It'd be hard, but it'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. Mine didn't shit all over yours. Take it easy. Yours is very fine.
I mean, mine's just more generic than yours, I think.
Yeah, well, there's something to be said for genericism.
Oh, well, we have another question here from our lovely friends at the Ruthless Aggression podcast. Levi asks, now this is one that I can talk about for a long time because I'm a video game nerd, but what was the best SmackDown vs. Raw video game of all time? Did you play SmackDown vs. Raw games when you were growing up, Kevin?
Yes. Yes, I did, and I have. It was very tough to choose this because I had two that come to mind, but I ultimately went with I went one way for a specific reason, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'd like to hear what you have to say first.
So my favorite SmackDown vs. Raw game of all time is SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. That is my favorite. It had the first incarnation of GM mode. It had an amazing soundtrack. It had commentary, which we hadn't had too much of in a wrestling game at that point. Had fun gameplay. Had a cool roster. I can literally put that game on at any time and sit there for hours and play it. Actually, that's something I should do for Twitch, is play SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 and do some GM mode, because my man Kevin could sit in on Skype and watch the stream, and we could kind of have a little bit of fun with GM mode, I think.
Okay, so I also say SmackDown vs. Raw 2006.
Good boy.
For all of the reasons that you mentioned, the biggest one definitely being GM mode. That was just unbelievable. Literally sat on that thing for hours.
Yeah.
Like you said. It was also the first SmackDown vs. Raw or WWE video game in general that I ever played.
Oh.
It was the first one that I'd ever got. And I fell in love with it. I always have a special place in my heart for me. I like 2008 as well.
Ooh, that's really my least favorite. Ooh.
Oh no. I mean, here's the thing, is like they're all fine to me. I'm not like a huge video gamer. So, you know, as long as I could wrestle, I was going to be happy with the game.
Oh yeah, see, I'm a video game nerd. So I mean, my favorite wrestling game of all time is, I mean, it's cliche, but No Mercy.
No Mercy.
Nintendo 64. It's always going to be my favorite. Actually, I don't know if it's No Mercy or the unpopular choice of WrestleMania 2000, because I remember putting more hours into WrestleMania 2000 than No Mercy. But as I've gotten older, I've realized No Mercy was probably better. I don't know. Either, they're very similar games. But yeah, that's my kind of favorite wrestling game of all time. But yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, just perfect. 2008, we need to have a discussion off podcast about that one, Kevin. It's still good. It's still a good game. It's just, out of all of them, it's my least favorite, I think. I just remember not enjoying that one as much. I hate going back and playing that now. I can't stand it.
That's each their own.
Good soundtrack, though, I will admit. Very good soundtrack.
Yes.
So, silver lining. But, yeah, I love video games. It's something I want to definitely touch more on with this, is because I love video games. I know you're not the biggest video game person, but hey, it's wrestling, so I feel like I can sweep you in on that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Alright, moving on over here. We got our lovely friend JPQ. What a lovely man. He said, given the accessibility to worldwide wrestling, who do you feel is the next promotion to break through the glass ceiling into the independent mainstream? And he has another question in a minute that I'll ask in a minute. But I feel like I know what you're going to say, Kevin. But what's your answer for that one?
See, I don't know what you think I'm gonna say because unless you're thinking AEW.
That's what I was thinking.
All right, well that makes sense. I was also looking at some smaller promotions though, because like they're already, AEW's already in the independent mainstream before it's even on the show.
I guess so, yeah.
But there are some really small promotions, like some small indies that are, I think, really good. For example, I love Creative Pro out of New York. It's Kurt Hawkins' training school, and it's also a promotion in its own right. And I like that vibe, because where you see a lot of indies just don't really have like full-fledged rosters, they just have, people they bring in. This Creative Pro Wrestling has its own roster because it's a training school. So they've got a lot of really good talent there. Bear Bronson, who I actually went to school with. Currently, I think he's their tag champ right now.
Hell.
And MJF, if you know who he is,
yeah.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman, that's where he came from.
Oh. Well,
So but AEW is a good answer. I mean, I think they're already here.
Yeah. So mine is an Australian-based promotion. Well, it's Australian-based. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it over there. It's called World Series Wrestling. It brings in a lot of international acts to Australia. They do a show every few months. They do a little tour, and there's people like, Cody's wrestled, and the Bucks have wrestled for World Series Wrestling. They have championships there. They're really setting a difference between independent Australian promotions and international Australian-based, world-based kind of deal. But they're awesome. I have missed them every time they've come to Adelaide because just couldn't make it for some reason or another. But they announced another tour, and I said last time I'm definitely going to go. And of course, this is the one they don't come to Adelaide on. So, that's just my luck. But definitely something I want to catch, but it's definitely something that has gotten a lot of traction, especially with their last two tours. The names are getting bigger. I think Pentagon Jr. is coming on the next one. He's kind of their headline kind of star. But yeah, and they bring in a lot of Australian talent to work with all of these, independent international acts. So, it's really cool, and I've watched a lot of clips on YouTube and just floating around on the internet and done nothing but impress me. Joey Ryan's on there a lot. There is a lot of cool stuff coming with that. So, if that's a valid answer, I would choose that.
Oh, I'd say it's a very valid answer. They've got attention, definitely, but yeah, they could be one of the biggest indies in the world with the talent they bring in.
Yeah, especially to Australia, because as I've kind of briefed with you, and as you could probably imagine, we don't get a lot of international wrestling over here very frequently because it's so far away from everywhere else. So, of course, we have our own Australian independent promotions. There's a few really cool ones around, but and you'd be surprised with a lot of talent that get tryouts with WWE and Impact and Ring of Honor and go off to Japan and stuff that come from, talent that I see on posters, an hour and a half away from me. So it's pretty cool to see that. It's just because we're so far away from everybody, it's just sometimes hard to kind of imagine. But yeah, that would be my answer for that one. JPQ also asked, mint choc chip ice cream, is green better than white? Oh, and he had a follow-up as well, shaved chocolate flakes or chocolate chips. So that's a double-pronged question.
Okay, I need you to go first here, just because my answer is going to shock some people.
Oh, my answer is going to piss off everybody because I hate mint choc chip ice cream. I hate mint in ice cream or chocolate. I can't stand it. Do not like mint. It's in breath mints or it's in like chewing gum. I don't like mint in like my sweets. And I'm not kind of a sick freak that has chocolate flakes. I'm normal and I have chocolate chips. So let's not even get there with that one.
I agree with that for sure. Definitely chocolate chips over chocolate flakes any day. I'm not really sure where that even comes from. Kind of weird. I don't know what you're doing with your ice cream, JPQ. I don't really want any part of it. But here's my answer to the mint chocolate chip question: is that I have never tried mint chocolate chip ice cream in any incarnation.
Oh,
never.
Oh.
When it comes to ice cream for me, I am really, really like, I have like my favorite kind of ice cream, which is cookies and cream. And then I will never branch away from that. I'm very stubborn in my ways.
Not the worst. I mean, I've tried mint chocolate. I mean, honestly though, I wouldn't recommend it because it's filth. I hate it. I hate mint in my sweets. I can't stand. Ugh. But I'm boring with ice cream because I just like vanilla, plain vanilla with some like sprinkles or some shit. I don't know. But I like vanilla ice cream, preferably in like a waffle cone. That's good.
Here's another one that's probably weird. I don't like cones. I don't like cones. I like eating out of cups or bowls.
Oh no, Kevin, what are you doing to me? I could just imagine you sitting there with your like bowl of ice cream playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Just
exactly. Yeah, I'm sitting there, got a nice bowl of cookies and cream. I'm making my creative person. I'm making them a showman and a high flyer on the fighting system.
That is the best answer you could have ever given, to be honest with you. Yeah, but at least we can agree on the choc chips, because we ain't sick freaks that have choc flakes.
Yeah, that was a strange question.
Another food-related question is from our buddy over at Everything Pro Wrestling. That would be one Conrad. And what's your favorite type of pudding?
Vanilla.
See, I like chocolate.
Not a lot of substance to this answer. Just I love vanilla snack packs. That's really the only pudding I've ever had.
I like chocolate pudding all the way. But I'm not really a big pudding guy, to be honest with you. Pudding's not my go-to thing.
I've had pudding in a while.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I just had like straight up pudding. It's not really my go-to. Honestly, this is deferring off the question, but I'm not a big sweets guy. I prefer savory, like, I know you don't call them chips over there, you call them crisps, or do you call them chips? I don't know.
We call them chips.
Oh, okay. Well, chips.
And I agree with that sentiment too. I'm more of a chip guy than like a candy guy.
Yeah, so, we don't call it candy over here, we call it lollies. They're lollies here.
Okay.
I like that answer. Okay.
Lollies.
I know what it is, though. Don't worry. I'm not, like, one of those people. But, yeah, I'm more of a savory over sweets. That's just me. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so this is from Wrestle Thoughts Podcast, those lovely guys over there. This is a very long-winded question, so get ready for this one, Kevin. So, the Superstar Shake-Up is happening after Mania. We know that it's happening. It's coming up. So he wants us to choose a tag team, singles male and female from each brand, Raw, SmackDown, NXT UK, and NXT, and 3 guys from 205 Live, and where would you put them and why? I know that's a very long-winded question, but basically, I guess what he's kind of asking is, who would we move in the Superstar Shake-Up, and where would we move them to, and our kind of logic behind it?
Okay, yeah, this was a long one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break it down best I could. So, here's what if I'm moving from SmackDown, I'm moving the Usos, I'm moving Naomi, and I'm moving AJ Styles, and I'm shipping them all to Raw because I think Styles, Naomi, and the Usos have all accomplished everything there is to accomplish on SmackDown. and I think that they have more worthwhile feuds in front of them on Raw.
Yeah, I can. I'll do my SmackDown to Raw. Styles is definitely on the top of that list. Styles needs to move to Raw. He needs to be not that he's stale, but he's just, like you said, accomplished everything he has on SmackDown. From the women's division, to be honest with you, I would probably move. I would probably move Carmella to Raw. And that being the same kind of, I think Carmella is more of a star than what we give her credit for. I think she's not talked about enough in the terms of, I'm not saying she's my favorite, this is just genuinely what I think about Carmella. I just think there's more to Carmella than what we've seen. I honestly do. And I think a move to Raw would freshen her up. Tag team wise, it's hard not to say the Usos, but then again, I would kind of want the New Day to go back to Raw because I feel like it would freshen up what Raw has to offer in the tag team division. So, I'd say Carmella, AJ Styles, and the New Day.
Okay. So we'll move on to who am I shipping from Raw to SmackDown. And I think right at the top of most people's lists, I'm seeing it here on this guy, Mike Baker, who replied to Wrestle Thoughts. He's got Finn Balor going to SmackDown, and so do I. So that's them. That's him. As for a tag team moving to SmackDown, I'd probably move AOP. Because when they get healthy, they got to have something to do. And I just rather see them on SmackDown. And from the women's division, I'd move Bliss. I'd move Alexa Bliss. I'd want to see her against, Carmella. I'd like to see her against some different. I'd like to see her get some fresh matches in with some fresh faces, basically.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I would move. It's hard not to say Finn Balor. Balor would be the one that's just, I need him on SmackDown. He needs to go to SmackDown. Let's move Finn. Tag team wise, I don't think I'd move AOP. But then again, I wouldn't move the Revival. Tag teams is hard because it's so thin on Raw. Would I move Chad Gable and Bobby Roode? I don't think so. They wouldn't really make that much. If I had to pick, I guess I would pick AOP just for the similar reasons. But that's only if I had to, because I would kind of leave the tag team division as it is on Raw and add the New Day, because SmackDown is overcrowded with tag teams while Raw has not a lot. So I would probably just... I would move AOP just if I had to. For the ladies, I'd probably move Ember Moon to SmackDown. I think Ember would be... I think she would flourish a lot better on SmackDown than Raw. I know she's currently injured. But I would probably move her to SmackDown just because we've seen what she's capable of. And I think she'd have a little bit more room to grow and work with the likes of Asuka and Charlotte Flair. I think she would be fun over on SmackDown and add a little bit of depth to that division. Should be that nice middle ground who can easily go up to the title picture. She can float around, and it doesn't hurt her. And it leaves up a little bit of a gap on Raw, in the sense of you don't have to have that, but not burden. I hate using that word. It's not a burden. Just that that kind of talent that you have to protect in a certain manner, because Ember she has a lot of potential, and so I'd probably move Ember. That would be mine. Now, if there was any call-ups from NXT, and NXT UK even, let's just limit it to maybe a tag team, a couple of dudes, and a couple of ladies. Who would you move, if any, to Raw, SmackDown, and I guess why?
Okay, so out of NXT, right away, I'd move Velveteen Dream to Raw. I would move... I would move, Velveteen Dream to Raw. I would move... It's tough because are we considering Aleister Black and Ricochet call-ups already, or are they still in NXT?
I guess we would consider them. I don't know, actually.
It's a tough question. I'm going to ignore them because I'm not sure what their status is, and I feel like they're going to get situated on Raw. So I'll ignore them. I'd move Keith Lee to SmackDown. I think he'd have a lot of fun matches. I'd love to see like Keith Lee and Samoa Joe, like two big dudes that are super agile. I would move the Forgotten Sons to Raw. I don't think they have really much left in NXT, but I think they could be a good main roster act, sort of like the way Elias became a really good main roster act. I sort of look at them in the same vein. And as for the women, I would move Candice LeRae to SmackDown. I don't think they're really using her properly in NXT right now, and I think she's got so much more to offer.
Honestly, yeah, you're not wrong. It's hard with NXT because of the questions surrounding the what are the fate of these call-ups. They're not on a brand yet, and whatever it may be, and there's been so many. But if I had to choose people from NXT or whatever, I would go probably Forgotten Sons as well, because I think they'll do a lot better on the main roster than we probably would ever think of. I would move Kairi Sane to the main roster just for the pure fact of she's ready. She's more than ready. I think Kairi would be fun on either Raw or SmackDown. Imagine the matches Kairi Sane could have with Asuka. Like, could you imagine those dynamics meeting? Because Kairi and Asuka, while they obviously, I think at some point have met up along the way, but they're two very different talents, very different inside the ring, but both share a sense of viciousness. I don't think Kairi Sane's aggressive side has been spoken about too much, but you've seen glimpses of it, and she does have it. And obviously Asuka has it. I think that'd be really fun. I'd love to see Kairi Sane mix it up with Bayley and Banks. Even Alexa Bliss and Kairi Sane would be fun. I just think Kairi could mix it up. I think Kairi has that style that she can work and gel with pretty much anyone. Imagine, hey, a lot of people would give this a lot of flack because it's who I'm talking about, but imagine Kairi Sane and Nia Jax. Just on sheer size difference alone, Nia could toss and throw around. Yeah, she could just toss around Kairi Sane all she wanted, and I just think it would be fun to see. Velveteen's, it's hard not to, say Velveteen, because he is the one that is ready to come up on the main roster. But just out of pure, just to be different. Just to be different to you. Someone I don't personally like all that much, but Matt Riddle. I think Matt Riddle could actually be really cool on the main roster. I don't like his face, but I hope the main roster would make him wear some shoes. So there's that. But yeah, I actually think Matt Riddle, in all honesty, could be really, really fun on the main roster. I honestly do. I think that'd be really cool to see him. Is he ready? Maybe not, but there's been a lot of people called up faster than him. So yeah, I think Matt Riddle could be really cool on the main roster. If there was anyone you could bring in from NXT UK, man, woman, whatever, is there anyone on your radar that you would bring up?
From NXT UK, yeah, I would bring Killer Kelly to the main roster. I'd bring her to probably SmackDown. I love Killer Kelly. I've been a big fan of hers. I've watched some of her indie work. I don't think she's getting I don't really watch NXT UK as much as I should, so I don't think she's getting that much airtime though, and she's not in the women's title picture from what I could gather. So I'd move her, and I would move. I mean, it's so easy to say Pete Dunne. I would move just because I love him and I want to watch him more. I'd move Flash Morgan Webster to Raw. Because he's my favorite on the NXT UK roster. I love his gimmick. He's got, I think, one of the best gimmicks going.
Yeah, that's, he is really cool. Killer Kelly is really fun. Pete Dunne is obviously a pretty easy choice. but I'm pretty certain you know who I'm going to say. But Rhea Ripley. I mean, she has come so far since the Mae Young Classic, the original Mae Young Classic. She is night and day different. I just think Rhea has so much potential to be a key player within WWE. I honestly do think that. She's so crisp in the ring. To be honest, she actually is really good on the microphone, accent or not. I just think Rhea has so much untapped potential that nobody has seen what she actually is capable of yet. And she's so young. She is so young, and she has this sheer look about her. She looks different to other girls. She's a little bigger than most of the ladies. And you've seen her matches in the Mae Young Classic on NXT NXT UK and NXT TakeOver UK. She is just... I just think she is just an incredible talent. I really honestly do. I actually am surprised that out of the two Aussie girls in NXT UK with her and Toni Storm, Rhea has leaps and bounds become my favourite over Toni Storm. Leaps and bounds.
Damn. I mean, I love them both. And I think that Rhea's definitely ready to come to the main roster. I think she needs more eyes on her.
Yeah. She has a cool song, too. That theme music is like...
And her gimmick is like... I remember the first Mae Young Classic where she was just sort of generic Rhea Ripley. And I noticed how athletic she was and how good she was in the ring. But nothing really jumped out at me besides that. And then she shows up to the second one, and she's like this punk rocker, and she's a bad girl now. She hates everybody. She doesn't care. And it works so well.
Yeah, she put on some size, and I mean that in a good way. She put on some muscle, and just seeing her from Mae Young Classic 1 to Mae Young Classic 2 is, like I said, night and day difference. That match she had with Kacy Catanzaro, wow. I absolutely loved that match. She was they were just the perfect mix of styles. That DDT that Kacy did on her was phenomenal. And those kind of moves are, I think, in my opinion, are all in the sell, are all in the person taking it. And Rhea is just an incredible base for the much smaller Kacy Catanzaro. I just love that. Was one of my favorite matches from the Mae Young Classic, and Rhea did just phenomenally. And she is very great on social media. Rhea is just she knows how to stick it to people on Twitter. She's very good at it. But yeah, Rhea is just talk all day about Rhea. And the fact that she, grew up an hour and a half from where I live is pretty damn cool to see on my television screen. So there's that too. I lost my mind when she come out at the Rumble. I was like, oh, it's Rhea. And then they said Adelaide on TV, and I was like, oh, I'm dying.
I'm happy you got to experience that.
Oh, man. One more question that I have on here is from lovely Queen. What a lovely lady she is. Of course, Queen was on our show last week. We had a very lovely chat with Queen. Before we get into her question, Queen, of course, is starting up a brand new show on Brainbuster Radio next week called Queen's Court. She is... I mean, you can kind of speak on this as well, Kevin, but what a great mind Queen has for wrestling. She really does get it.
Yeah, she's got a good head on her shoulders for sure. And she's really bringing like a unique perspective, I think, to the Brainbuster Radio lineup. Her show's going to be interactive. It's going to be all sorts of fun. People are going to be able to join in and have fun with her and have fun with all of us. And I think that's really, really good for the brand.
Yeah. She's going to be really, really cool. I loved our chat we had last week because she's not afraid to talk about anything wrestling related, which is a good thing because some people shy away from heavier topics and stuff like that, and I'm glad she was open. But her question is, and it kind of is cool that this is, we're just, an hour out from Raw, but how do you think the next 2 weeks of Raw and SmackDown are going to go as we wind down towards Mania? More shenanigans or continuing to swerve us? We got 2 weeks of television left, Kevin, and we've stated before, and I think we said in our pre-chat or at the start of the show, I can't remember, it doesn't really feel like WrestleMania season too much for a lot of the undercard. Even doesn't feel like WrestleMania to me. But the next 2 weeks of television need to be important, and they need to really show us that it's Mania at the end of next week. So, do you think there's going to be more shenanigans, or do you think we're going to get just this? What I want is the standard WrestleMania build, but do you think we're going to get a lot more swerves, a lot more shenanigans, or is it just going to be just easy going until WrestleMania?
I think the time for swerves is come and gone. I think we are less than 2 weeks out from WrestleMania. We're 13 days away. And I really think that the swerves have to stop because we need to build a card. At the end of the day, people are saying like this is going to be a big card, right? There's only like 9 matches that are set in stone right now, which seems like a lot, but for WrestleMania when you're putting up 14, 15 matches, and I've seen on some of the rumor mills that we're getting as many as 17 this year.
Yeah.
To take that with a grain of salt, not sure if that's actually true. We'll see. But if that's the case and they're going to that many matches, we have like half a card right now and we're 2 weeks out. I think they need to tell some stories and just quit the shenanigans and the swerving and the jerking everybody around. And I think they need to just set up the card properly.
Yep. I agree with you completely. 100%. Because it's like you said, 13 days away. Let's just book this for what it is now. Sometimes, like I've said before, like you've said before, well, if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. So the build to a WrestleMania should be the easiest, because all you have to do is book a match and be like, yo, it's at WrestleMania. You don't need all the swerves and the shenanigans along the way for the most part. But hey, I think we're going to get a lot of Kofi Bryan is happening. 100% is happening. But how we get there is interesting. I have my little take on how we'll get there if you want to hear it, but
lay it on me.
It's a little, I don't know if it's out there, but okay, so you know how this is, I've said many times, and I think you said, and a lot of people have said, it's so weird to see Kofi and Bryan play out, because 4 or 5 years ago, this was Bryan. Bryan was in Kofi's spot, and man, the tables have turned, and now Kofi's the B+ player, and Bryan's the guy, and whatever, but he had this segment on Raw, everyone knows about it, Occupy Raw, where all the fans come in, and they demanded that Bryan get this match at WrestleMania with Triple H. I think we're going to see an extension of that, but instead of the fans, I think we're going to have talent come out and say, if you don't give Kofi this match at WrestleMania, we're going to walk. Because on SmackDown last week with the gauntlet leading up, you had Styles and you had Miz and you had a few other people, Kevin Owens. They all gave their good lucks, their well wishes to Kofi Kingston, or called him deserving. I think we're going to have an Occupy Raw type segment, an Occupy SmackDown segment, where talent comes out and says to Vince, Kofi deserves this spot, and if you don't give it to him, we're gonna occupy SmackDown, or we're gonna walk. And I think Vince is gonna have to put Kofi into the match at WrestleMania. I know it's a little bit out there, but I want that to happen. That's how I would book it anyway.
I like that. I think that's pretty on the nose, honestly, because you're right. During the Gauntlet match, you had literally everybody backstage watching on the monitor, cheering him on.
Yeah, that too.
It just makes sense that everyone wants him to succeed, and everyone wants him and says he deserves to be in that spot. So him being continuously denied, you think it would stir up some ill feelings with the guys backstage. So I think that could happen. I think we got to keep an eye on SmackDown this week, because I think that might happen.
Or at least an extension of that, of some kind of, because in wrestling, in WWE, you don't see a lot of stories intertwine with one another unless they have, unless unless WWE wants you to know that they know about him, if you get what I mean. So all of this talent is interacting with Kofi and wanting him to win, for no reason? It's just because he's a good dude. It just, to me, it just seems like that has something to do with this week's SmackDown, or just the build to WrestleMania in general. So something to that extension, and this story has been so parallel to Bryan's rise, and it's been a really well told story. It's been complex yet simple. That's how you do a complex story, but a simple kind of storyline. You can have little, twists and turns along the way. That's fine. We don't just want plain stories all the time. This has been a really well told story. Kofi's rise. It's been so organic, and it's not just the cookie cutter, he won the gauntlet, blah, blah, blah. It's Vince coming out and saying, screw you guys, screw the fans, this is not what I want. So it's kind of a weird parallel to see Vince do this. But yeah, that's how I think we get with Kofi and Bryan, if by any means. But nonetheless, we've only got two Raws, 2 SmackDowns to go, and we're there. This podcast has made me more excited for WrestleMania than I've been the whole entire build. So I'm having this weird thing of every time I say WrestleMania, I get almost butterflies. I'm like, oh, Mania.
Just around the corner.
I know, it is weird. Anything else you want to add, Kevin? Did you get anything on yours of any kind of worthy? I didn't even look on your tweet, to be honest with you.
No, the only question I got on my tweet was, what's the hardest part of the ring? This might be an insider secret, but I'm here to break it to everybody. This is a breaking news moment on Wrestling Reverb. The apron is the hardest part of the ring.
Oh, yes, that is correct.
I know, shocker. You've never heard that before, but that's the case. It's the apron. Now you know.
Well,
whenever you're asked that question, please credit me.
All right, I'll make sure I do that. I didn't know that, Kev. Thank you for enlightening us all on that one.
See, this could be a learning experience for us too.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't think I could learn any more about wrestling, but in comes Kevin, and changes my life. All right, so we've learned on this episode that Kevin's never had mint choc chip ice cream, and he plays that awful SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. And
come on.
And yeah, that's about it for. So this was Kevin's time on Wrestling Reverb. I hope he's had a good run.
It's if I have to go out, I'm gonna go out with SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 in hand and a bowl of cookies and cream in the other.
I just wanna be famous. Remember that song? That song was really good on that game.
Yes,
that's probably gonna be. Now I've got copyright issues because I was just sounded exactly like that guy. But yeah. WrestleMania is coming up. I haven't actually. I can't decide, Kevin. Let's talk about this on air. Who gives a shit? Should we have a little bit of a break before WrestleMania next week, or should we come back and have one more episode before WrestleMania week? I don't know yet.
That's a good question. I was actually thinking about this myself. But do you want to take a break? I kind of don't.
I don't either, but at the same time, we're in such WrestleMania mode. What could we really talk about that we're not going to talk about next week? That's my only issue. Unless we can think of some kind of clever idea for the last episode before our big week, then by all means, let's do a show. But I guess why we're talking about this, to everyone listening, if you don't hear from us later this week, and you can catch us next week for our big week, but who knows, we might be around on Friday. We don't know yet. We don't know. Maybe we could do something brainbuster-ish. Who knows? We'll think of something. If we don't, we'll catch you next week. So Kevin, if this is the last time me and you are talking for the week, and the last time we're talking before WrestleMania week, is there anything you want to say to me or the lovely people of Wrestling Reverb if we can't hear our lovely voices for an entire week?
It hurts to even think about it, because I know these people just love hearing me talk. And I really don't. I hate to disappoint, but I gotta keep the pipes on ice. So just sit tight. We might be back this week. We might not be, but we will be in your ears literally all week, WrestleMania week. So if you miss out on one episode, you got 5 more coming next week. So don't be too discouraged.
Yeah, and now this could line up very well. So this will be to line up just weirdly odd. It's really weird. The 50th episode of Wrestling Reverb will take place next week, and the 50th episode will actually be episode 1 on Brainbuster Radio. So, half a century.
That worked out well. I'm glad you planned that way back when.
Yeah, when I started off, I was like, yeah, Brainbuster will line up here. So that is really weird. I've done more than 50 episodes just with bonus episodes and reverb rewinds and stuff, but it's the official 50th episode next Friday for the Brainbuster Radio deal. So that's kind of a weird coincidence. Weird little celebration. But that will kind of do us all for this, maybe this whole week. I know, please. It hurts me to say. But yes, we're going to be very busy next week, so make sure you catch us next week if you don't catch us later this week. And also, make sure you check out, I was very honoured to be a guest on JPQ Show, No Particular Angle podcast. That'll be coming out in the next few days. So please make sure you check out that. We had a great chat about all things women's wrestling. So please make sure you check out that. And that really will do us all for this week. So until probably next week, we'll catch you guys for WrestleMania week on Wrestling Reverb. Peace.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan.
Alan.
Oh, yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Forgot
the
that.
same mother and father.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we're known as
you were in a photo I think I have on my fridge.
When?
Yeah.
I think we grew up together. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Your room was...
we shared a room.
Shared a room.
We shared a room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast.
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The
Brocast.
Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah, well.
What do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies.
Movies, yes. We've covered quite a lot of movies with our compilations. We sit back here and we watch movies, and we do give you, the wonderful people out there who listen to this, our own sort of audio track. It also
give you an unwanted commentary.
Yeah, you could just I could simply just sit down and watch a movie, but these guys are talking over it. I can't enjoy this.
And if you dig professional wrestling, we go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Brocast. That's BROKAST. I nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Brocast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. We spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.